start with, so when did you find our practice?
Okay, well that would be, we were doing whole food plant-based or close to it for almost a year when I found you. I was looking desperately for some place to go. And I found it through the Esselton for they were having a woman warrior event. And I looked at the speakers, and Ann Bingham was one of the speakers, and researched her and found out she was in Middletown, only 20 minutes away. So that's how we found you.
And what other doctors or specialists were you using before you found us?
So we were using a naturopath in Hamden.
Yeah.
And the regular doctors for the heart, because at that point he had a heart attack. I started 6 months, about 6 months before his heart attack, converting to whole food plant-based. But I did it by books and reading. I couldn't find anybody to go see a doctor that wasn't available that I could find in the area until I found you guys.
And what prompted you to go whole food plant-based?
For me, it was, I've been vegetarian for, at that time, 25 years. And my cholesterol kept creeping up over the years, and I just didn't want it to, so I had to figure out something. So I went to Barnes & Noble. I looked up, I thought, okay, vegan must be the way to go. So I looked up vegan, but I knew about junk food vegan, and so I found a book that was plant-based, and I'm like, okay, it was this woman from Canada, and she was pretty good, but it had oil in it and nuts in it, and a lot of fats in it that I didn't know about. But at that point, it worked for me. I was losing weight, fast, and then 6 months later, Pat decides to have a heart attack.
So tell us about your heart attack decision, Pat.
So I felt pretty healthy. I was 156 pounds. I'm 5'6" at the time. I think I'm shrinking, but so like I thought I was doing the right thing, and I was eating some vegetarian stuff because of Helene, and
but I noticed things weren't right. Like I've been trying. I would try to make a bet with him, like, if you give up meat, I'll give up white flour for a month, and I couldn't get him to. And he was eating out more and more than he normally used to. He used to always take his lunch. So
right.
he.
Well, that's just a convenience thing. It's like easy. So yeah. So the day of my heart attack, I was in my office, and I actually walked in and said to my brother early on in the day, I said, I just don't feel right. It's like something's going on, And so that was that. And he's like, well, you should have it checked out, Okay, yeah. And let me start farther back. So a year and a half before my heart attack, I had gone to the doctor, my naturopath doctor, and I told him, I said, like every once in a while I get like a little heart pain, like pain in my chest. And he's like, Pat, I think you're pretty healthy, but you should go to a cardiologist and get a baseline. So I did, and they put me through a stress test and, all these, different tests, whatever. They were checking my heart. And they found basically that I was healthy. So I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe it's heartburn or, whatever, because I did have that in the past.
It would come and go. Like,
yeah.
he'd feel fine for a bit, and then all of a sudden he didn't feel so good, and then.
So back to the heart attack day I had lunch with my nephew who was in my office, and then I went back to my office, and I sat down, and I felt like I couldn't compose myself. So I'm like, oh man, what's going on? So I got up, and I felt the same way. I felt even worse. So I'm like, oh my God, I gotta sit down. So I sat down for a few minutes. Then I went into my brother's office and I said, Joe, he was on the phone. And I said, Joe, my heart, something's going on. And he like hung up the phone and called 911. And so in the beginning, I was able to show him my phone because I have all my medications, which basically were supplements at the time, on my phone. So I just showed him, I'm like, this is what I need. This is what I've been taking. And so we waited for the ambulance to get there. And as time went on, it just seemed like it took forever for the ambulance to get there. And um, I got to where I didn't really want to talk because I didn't want to expend energy. Not that I couldn't talk, but I just felt like I needed to just calm down. Um, so the paramedics got there and they gave me something. He said, "Yes, you're having a heart attack," and you know, um, so but I felt like I was gonna go completely out. So they put me in the ambulance, and one of the paramedics actually screamed at me. He's like, "Pat, you have to stay awake. Talk to that guy next to you." And I don't know if it's what they gave me or whatever, but it kind of brought me out of it. And then I knew where I was. I knew, okay, we're getting on the highway, because I know the route to Yale New Haven Hospital. Um, so they brought me in an emergency. They took me right in, put me on a gurney or whatever, and then they started working on me, and they cut off my shirt, they cut off my pants, and
Then they went to the stents or whatever.
yeah. So, but well, to tell the whole story is so they brought a preacher in, and my brother was there at the time, and I'm like, Joe, am I gonna die? Like, what's going on? But then they gave me something, and I'm like, I started feeling pretty good. So I'm like, hey Joe, can we get out of here? He's like, no, I love you, but we're not leaving. So they did an emergency stent the first day, and I believe it was in my LAD, and then they did 2 stents in my RCA. Um, about a day and a half later.
And in that day and a half, the food was terrible. I made somebody come and get us plant-based food because we couldn't find anything on the menu to make it work back then.
And Helene actually kept asking the doctors, like, what's the best diet he can be on, and
Everyone that came in, and there was a ton of them at Yale because they have all the student ones.
And finally, one doctor said, whole food plant-based. And I'm like, okay. So,
Damn it, Helene's right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we went forward from there.
Yeah, so we went forward from there, and Helene kind of weaned me into it, like, because, when you're eating standard American diet for all those years, I mean, I was 62 when it happened, it's like, it was a big change.
And they said if he wasn't as close to the ambulance as he wouldn't have made it. It's that he was where he was is the only reason why he's alive. So then slowly we just started incorporating it, and I just started reading everything I could get my hands on books for plant-based and heart attacks or whatever, and I've started to feel like I own a library of books, but we did okay. Other than the fact that about the oil, that was a big thing in the nuts. Was we were eating too many nuts and stuff, and when we found you guys, we were able to correct that. And he slowly went off all his medication. He's now on nothing other than a baby aspirin. you know, from just, and the cardiologist wasn't working with us. She didn't believe anything, you know, like we had a, you know, fight with her if it wasn't for Dr. Patel and Catherine that, you know, to help get him off the rest of the pills. But slowly she realized it because his numbers were so good.
Right.
So of course you realize, like, I was on a blood thinner, I was on a beta blocker, you know, blood pressure medicine.
And he was having all kinds of troubles with these medicines. His hands were frozen. I mean, it wasn't solving it; just caused more problems. You know.
So yeah, like Helene said, right now, I think maybe 3 years later, I started weaning myself off of statins, and first of all, I was on the lowest dose of statin that you can possibly have, which was 5 milligrams of simvastatin, and
your cholesterol now is what? With nothing. What was the last
well,
test?
118 was my total cholesterol.
With nothing,
So,
just by food.
And
Yeah.
what about your LDL? Do you remember?
I'd have to look that up. I don't
65.
remember. Yeah, 65. You know, for me, it's been a life changer. It's like I feel much more energy. I you know, I go to the gym 3 days a week. I do Zumba twice a week. I play pickleball now. It's like
He's back to himself when, you know, when we were first married. You know, he just is constantly moving, doesn't sit down till, you know, like 8 o'clock at night, and
yeah.
And our diet changed even in the plant-based considerably from when we first started. If I knew now, and then what I know now, it would have made it a lot easier. We were constantly trying new recipes and everything, and one was worse than the next, you know, and we finally simplified now. You know, the new recipes are more for fun to change up your diet, like anybody gets bored with their diet, but it's just basic foods, you know, and making bowls and batch cooking, and just, it's so easy now. We don't even think twice about it. People say it's difficult, but Pat cooks a lot now, whereas before he didn't. He likes to cook.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, basically, I'll make like rice at the beginning of the week and have it for all week, you know, and just
Yeah, but we'll make plant-based pancakes. We
Yeah,
found recipes with even that you can make with corn and oats if you want to stay away from the flour and stuff.
right.
So we've kind of figured out a system, and you know, people ask, "Oh, it must be so hard." No, it's not. It's just not.
Well, you've evolved quite a bit over the years.
Yeah.
And what was I just want to backtrack real quick, your cholesterol and your blood pressure and your health before, in the years before the heart attack? I know you lost weight, but what else? Was your cholesterol ever really high, or?
I think the highest my cholesterol was 204. Yeah, well, my cholesterol had gone up and up and up.
Yeah.
And I had trouble keeping my HDLs to the level they need to be, which it was always around 38. It needs to be like 40. I've even been like 37.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my blood pressure was never an issue. So, you know, 204, they're saying at the time 200 is good, you know, so I'm like, well, I'm not that far off. And, you know, although I think the new standard now is 150. So I mean, I always worked hard, you know, around the house and at work. And
we had noticed, my son and I had noticed that he was getting very sluggish. Like you could see that he was like, at the end of the day, all he wanted to do was sit down and watch TV. You know, the grandkids would come over, and he didn't play as much with them. Now he's on the floor and running around with them, you know. So when you look back, you can see the signs that there was things there. But so I was eating vegetarians, but I ate a lot of dairy, which was my biggest issue that I corrected. But so at one point I refused to cook chicken or meat or anything in the house. So he wasn't eating it when he ate at home for quite a while before the heart attack, but he was eating it out.
But you guys were never like a big processed food, eating out all the time type people, were you? Or is that something that's evolved?
Not processed food, not a whole lot, because I always cooked and I always had a garden, so we always ate from the garden, you know. So, but eating out, Pat loved to eat out. You know, that was his big thing. So, and I think that's probably what pushed him over. If we didn't eat out as much as we did towards the end, you know, he might have gone longer without having a heart attack. Right? Don't you agree?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was a culmination of all those years.
Oh yeah, 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 for sure.
Any hesitations about reaching out to our practice in particular when you first, because you know, you'd already had the heart attack, you've already been to many doctors. Did you have any hesitations?
No, I called the day I found out, made an appointment. I was so excited. I mean, you know, here I am. The responsibility was all on me to keep him whole food, plant-based, and figure it out. It was nice to have somebody to say, "Oh, you're doing okay, Helene. This is, you know," and that you were able to steer us to get the oils and the fats down, you know, which, and I still fight with my cholesterol, you know, so was always trying to keep that down. So, no, and recommending you to everybody I know. Anytime somebody asks, you know, and a lot of people we know were thrilled to find somebody. You know?
And so, what's the main reason you would recommend us to somebody?
Health.
Personable, understanding. You take the time to talk to us and listen. You listen to how we eat. When I talk to friends that go to doctors, the doctors don't know what they're doing, what they're consuming, what's happening in their lives. You guys make a point of knowing what's in our lives, what we're doing. That if I say I'm walking, you know I'm walking because you know you've asked me, you've seen me, we've been on hikes, you know, things like that, and that's important. I feel like if you don't know the whole person, you can't figure out what's wrong, you know, and how to help them get on the right track. So you're able to do that. You're able to steer us down the path that we need. Even with Dr. Patel trying to get me to exercise because I know I don't do it enough, and we're working on that.
Also, the community and like-minded people.
Yeah.
You know, it just makes it easier. And to be honest, like I ate the standard American diet my whole life, and it was hard making the transfer. But now, I don't see any difference. I don't, you know, like my palate has changed, and I enjoy everything I eat. So, you know, it's not where like I got to change my whole life. I can't do that. You know, a lot of people I talk to say that. You know, like, oh, I got to lose this gut, but you know, so I recommend them to you, and they're like, yeah, I don't know if I can do that. Okay, so I said, okay, just do this. Do two meatless meals a day. You know what I mean? Start there. You know, so, but it's definitely been life changing for me.
What would you say to yourself? Probably was it 5 years ago now? Like right before, what would you say to yourself, or what do you wish you had done differently?
Well, I wish I had the insight to know about plant-based eating, but I guess in my world, it really didn't come up that much back then. Now you see movies like Game Changer, Forks Over Knives, you know, all these different documentaries on plant-based eating and actually what it does to the environment and, you know, the other side of it. But
when I went researching, there was literally one book on plant-based that I could find in Barnes and Noble at the time, you know. So after I found that one, then I started to find others. But you know, that was 6 years ago, whatever, and there wasn't much out there. Now there's so much. You know, you can really find.
So you said that you would make things simpler. Before, any other things that you would do differently if you were to start again?
well, that was a learning curve. So, you know, it was like, okay, so you're all in, right? And now you're looking at a recipe, and it's like,
Well, I guess
okay, this is what I need to do, like, but as you grow in your cooking and you understand that, okay, I need to do these three basic things. And so in our refrigerator, we have these glass Pyrex dishes full of, sweet potatoes and broccoli rabe and carrots and, whatever, and rice, and we make a bowl. And or we do pasta with tomato sauce and no sausage,
You know what we did? What we do now is we went back to what we used to eat and just take the animal products out. That's what it comes down to. Like we missed, like as time went, we were trying these weird recipes that wasn't normal for us. So now it's more like, okay, well, we want to eat pasta. How can we make pasta more healthy? What can we do? So we could eat the whole wheat pasta. We can add spinach and make the sauce without any oil. And all our basic meals that we used to eat, we just take out the animal products and maybe find substitutions or just make it without it. It's really the spices that you add and stuff that make it taste like the things, I mean, if you want sausage, all you need is the spices that go into sausage and a product to put it on, whether it's tofu or whatever. So I think that not totally changing, eating different ethnic foods, just eating what you like, but making it work, right?
Right.
What's your favorite discovery? Your favorite recipe that you like?
Oh, geez, that's big desserts. We really, I mean, honestly, pancakes is a big one for us because it's something different than oatmeal all week, and we can have pancakes on the weekend. And you know what? It's so funny because you can take eggs out of anything. I mean, they don't even make a difference. You can just put a little water in it. People think it binds things. It doesn't. It's just people put it in because they have them, I think. And milk, you don't. You can even just use water in place of plant milk. You don't even need the plant milk if you don't want to.
Mm.
But what's your favorite thing to eat? Well, I guess lately tofu scrambles have been real big.
Yeah.
We've been really liking those.
Yeah, they're quick and easy.
Yeah, we eat them for a lunch or a dinner, not necessarily for breakfast.
Yeah.
But that's an acquired taste too, tofu. I think it took a while. Like people. First off, I don't recommend right away for people to eat it. They don't get the concept. But later on, they do.
It's an advanced move.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I do like pasta with sauce, so.
Yeah, but now we don't just eat pasta. We usually make broccoli rabe with pasta, which was broccoli rabe was always a big thing that we made.
Mm.
So we boil the broccoli and then we throw it some garlic in a pan with the wet broccoli and just heat it up together and some basil or whatever on it and put it on top of pasta and that's an Italian thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the tofu regatta is another.
Yeah.
That's something that you
Mhm.
guys.
Yeah. That a lot of people will eat, even though they don't like tofu, once they try that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically, tofu takes on the taste of what you're
Yeah.
putting with it. So, to me, it's like easy.
Yeah.
Or what maybe was your if you hadn't done anything, what do you think? Where do you think your life would be? So 2-part question.
Okay, so if I hadn't done anything, I'd probably be on all kinds of meds, and I'd probably be eating the same. Obviously, you'd be eating the same way, and not getting any healthier. Yeah. So, that could lead to whatever, open heart surgery or whatever.
You had a lot of fear in, of it happening again too. So
Yeah.
I think that was a drive to stick to it.
Well, that's my big thing for exercising. So it's like, sometimes when I'm overexerting myself, I'll feel a little something, but I think that's just me getting exhausted or something, But
I had a lot of fear, like the fact that I almost lost him, and then I felt a lot of pressure that eating this way was on me. I had to make him do it, and I had to convince him. And there was a few times he was eating things he shouldn't have right after the hospital. You know, like I had to say, just give it up for a couple days. Let's see how it goes. And everything was for a couple days, and then he started to realize a couple of days meant a couple of months, and a couple of months meant forever. And he sort of worked his way into it. But right now, the fear of him having a heart attack isn't there, and to me, that's like amazing. I mean, but the fear of if we ate too many meals that had oils and fats in it, would something happen? Yes, you know, that fear is there. You know, I think that's enough reason to stick to it because
I think that fear is more with Helene than me because I know my body and I know what's going on. But she does keep me in check, so which is fine.
probably too much. So, but
Yeah, which is fine. But yeah,
I always tell him, yeah, sure, he's the one who's gone. I'm the one who's left without him. You know, and that's the big. So you have more of a fear when you're the one being left behind.
Is what do you do because you've had a heart attack? You have many brothers and sisters. You have children. How and friends? How does it go in your world, in your social world?
so let's start with my grandchildren. My daughter, since they were born, they didn't really like meat or
They would never eat it.
they would never eat it. So she eats pretty healthy. Not 100% plant-based, but she eats pretty healthy. And the kids do well also. So that's from infancy to their grown-up life, they're going to know a better way of eating.
Yeah, they're vegetarian for sure. They don't drink milk. They drink plant milk, and they have a little bit of cheese, but really that's so little in their life, you know. And my daughter eats vegetarian all the time, and she does have some cheese, and they occasionally have ice cream and stuff. So, but to have it once or twice a week, no big deal when you don't have anything else in your diet.
So you're able to influence your grandchildren. You
Yeah.
feel like you're able to.
Yeah, which so when my grandson wouldn't touch any kind of meat, I said to my daughter, "Don't give it to him." I said, "Give him that much. If he decides he wants to eat it in his later years, then that's his call. But at least you could start him off with this, you know." And it's a tough world to bring the kids up, and you know, but a lot of people are very aware of it, and people accommodate the kids when they go to birthday parties. They always make sure there's something that they can eat for them, you know. So they and she never says no, you can't. Like Deborah will get school lunch, and it'll be pizza, and it'll have cheese on it. But he'll get a bottle of milk because that's what they push in the schools, and he would come home and he'd get sick. And my daughter would say to him, "Debbie, it's okay that you want the pizza or the milk, but you can't have both. It makes you sick. It's not good for you." So now he doesn't get the milk anymore, and he just has the pizza. You know, he would have been perfectly fine with a plant-based milk, but they don't offer it. It's not there, and he doesn't have a choice, you know. So,
Okay, so my siblings,
Yeah.
which I have a lot of, you know, they're my youngest brother had some stents put in, and he still eats the same way. I mean, yeah, I think he's toned it down, but he still eats the same way. You know,
your younger sister Nancy, we've had some influence on her and her kids.
right. Yeah, I mean, her children are, especially her son, is really healthy. He's like, you know, and so he pays attention.
He's into the gym.
Yeah.
So he pays attention.
He played baseball. He was like really, yeah. But that's her family. But I have 12 siblings, 11 siblings. So, and you know, like my sister's husband had a stroke he's 68. You know, we had him over. We had him over for a meal. Showed him how, you know, this is what you can eat. They were fine with it, you know, but they don't, you know. it's just like, so it's hard to get people to change their mindset. Um, I guess, I don't know, for me, a life event meant, you need to do something. And having Helene doing all the research and, talking about it all the time, it definitely helps. But yeah, I mean, most of them have come to the idea that, okay, I just won't eat that way anymore.
This isn't a
In the
phase.
beginning, it was like, oh, you could have that, you could have meat, and but this was a life choice for me. So
We definitely have to say to them, we had to explain to them that he is not on medication. He cannot eat those things. His choice is to be off of medication. That's how we word it, that if he eats that, he has to take medicine and he doesn't want to. So if we don't phrase it like that, they'll push at him.
yeah,
Even just recently, we were at a wedding and the sister said to him, "Oh, if you just ate meat, you'd feel better."
yeah,
Yeah, it can be frustrating.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I mean,
But then the few people that we influence, like Nancy's kids, they're aware of it. They know about it. I mean, they may not do everything, but they're aware of it and they've corrected their diet a little bit, or they've thought about the fact that they're eating meat at every meal, and that to try to alter that, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's good. Even my son-in-law's coming on board lately. He's trying. I'll tell you, everybody that's come to you has been pretty happy, about whether they choose to be able to stay on it or do it or control. But sometimes if you just have that little bit in the back of your head, it's enough to correct a few meals, and maybe it'll keep you, a little bit better, right?
Yeah. Well, like we said, like if you can eat 2 meals a day without meat or
Cheese
dairy or whatever,
it's better than not.
it's better than what you're doing now. So yeah. I think that's the biggest challenge. It's like it's hard for people to change.
I think that's what's so nice about the practice is just the relief of knowing you're going to an event that everybody does the same thing as you. And just that you're going to eat, like Plant Luck is great. People are just, they're all trying. I mean, the meals might not be perfect, but it doesn't matter. They're trying. And you could come and enjoy everybody and enjoy what you're eating and not be like, oh, we have to go to this restaurant because you can't eat at that one, and I say, no, it's not that I can't eat. I choose not to. And I've been correcting that lately because people say, oh, you can't. I said, no, we choose not to. And it's our choice. And as far as I'm concerned, people should abide by everybody's choices in life. If that's what they want to do, then that's their decision.
Mm-hmm. In fact, Helene was planning a dinner out with a couple of friends, and she got on the site. This is where we're going to go, and she found vegetarian
My friend,
choices, but she has a note to call the restaurant and see if they can do anything.
but also these friends are aware, like they want to go to a lobster shack. There's nothing there. My girlfriend goes and looks on the thing. She said, we're texting. There's only a salad. Helene's not going to be able to eat, guys. Let's find something that she could eat too. So they found a restaurant that had what they wanted and made it so that I could have what I wanted. And eventually your friends, the ones who really care and are part of your life, will accommodate and try to make it work for you. And I've also influenced them to an extent too, because they pay attention a little more about what they eat,
Mm-hmm.
without just by being me, not forcing them that this is what you need to do.
Right.